Welcome to the Munich Forum of the Conference of European Rabbis here at our headquarters in Munich. And we have as our guest, I don't know if it's right to call you our guest, maybe we are your guest, the representative of City Hall, Mr. Clemens Baumgärtner, who is the head of the Department of Labor and Economic Development of the city of Munich, Germany, who dedicated and fostered innovation, strengthening Munich's economic ties with the State of Israel and promoting inclusivity in one of Europe's leading cities. So welcome to the Munich Forum. Mr. Baumgärtner, Munich, just yesterday, our young rabbis went to visit the State Library and saw a manuscript, one of the first manuscripts of the Talmud from the 13th century. It has a very long Jewish history. It was one of the most important Jewish communities in Europe. And today, it is the biggest Jewish community of Germany. However, Munich also has a very, very difficult history. It is the place where the Reichspogromnacht, Kristallnacht, was started in the old City Hall building. It is the place where Adolf Hitler started his political career. And the history of the city and the history of its Jewish community, how does this shape your vision of the future of Munich and the future of inclusivity in Munich?
I think history, and especially the Second World War, with all its things happening in Munich with the Reichspogromnacht and all the very ugly things Hitler made in Munich, is taught to everyone in school. You can see it everywhere in the city. You are facing it in museums. You are confronted with it with plates on the wall. So the history is present in quite a lot of different forms. My thing is, I don't want to just lay back on regarding the history. I want to have a look in the future. My opinion is the young generation, the young Munich Bavarian generation and the young Jewish generation of Israel and the Jewish community in Munich should have a future. And I want to shape the future, an inclusive future in the meaning of work together, understand each other, do business with each other, because that's the best kind of understanding each other. And they have a lot of things in common. Very well educated in Munich and in Israel. The same mindset whenever I talk to young Jewish members of the community. I don't feel like talking to a Jewish member of the community in Munich, but just to a Munich citizen. So I bring together two things. That's regarding history on the one side and looking at a bright and economic future for young people on the other side. And I think that's a very good fit, especially in order not to forget what in the past happened in Munich.
Thank you. Munich is a center for many international events and many conferences. I think the Munich Security Conference is known as one of the most famous ones. Also, I took part many times in the Buddha holdings, the media, lifestyle, and the new media. You are in charge of creating events for the city, and what do you plan in terms of creating events which will also, or which will highlight the Jewish past or present or history of the city?
I can only do things where I have partners, because we as the city don't do congresses, or do it very rarely, and mostly not upon special themes, meaning the exterior, meaning other countries. But in the second, I get any people being interested in doing congresses that rely on the Jewish business connection, on the cultural Jewish connection. I'm very happy to host any congress willing to be in Munich or to get Munich as part of its host, as you did in the past few days here in Munich. We're happy and we're very proud that congresses take place in Munich on the topic of any Jewish theme, because that makes us proud in the meaning of you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel sound in Munich, and that's what makes me happy. So anyone looking at this video, willing to make any congress in Munich, come to me, we'll help you.
So we understand that you're still open and looking for partners and for suggestions, and you welcome any positive idea of creating events which will highlight the past, the present, the future of the city and its Jewish community. You mentioned that also the issue of safety and anti-Semitism, which unfortunately has become, since the 7th of October of last year, again a crucial issue for the Jewish community in Europe and also in Germany and also in Bavaria and in Munich. We just had, a few weeks ago, we had an attack which, thanks to God, was not successful against the Israeli consulate in the city. It was also not far from our headquarters of the Conference of European Rabbis. What does the city of Munich do to promote a climate of respect and inclusion and fighting anti-Semitism in the city today?
There's quite a few ways to fight against the anti-Semitism in Munich. At first, the cooperation with the state of Bavaria. That means police, and that means the Ministry of Justice. Whenever there is something going on in a anti-Semitism way, there is the police, I would say, handling it. And handling means, especially with the incident at the Jewish consulate, within 10 minutes, that attack was ended by eliminating the assassinator. That's the one hard way to fight against those people harming Jewish people in Munich. The other thing is that we, as a city of Munich, try to not educate, but make people aware of the fact that anti-Semitism has a lot of different faces. Sometimes you don't see it firsthand. You just realize it if you are aware that it hides between certain topics, themes, certain behaviors. The Palestinian protesting is something normal people don't see at first as a typically anti-Semitism. Making people aware of the fact that it is like that on demonstrations partially organized by the city, and the information given by the city is I think, acute demonstration of the fact that Munich is very much different than other cities in Germany, where you often read that as a Jewish person, you shouldn't enter each area of the city at each time of day, which I learned from the newspaper that in Berlin is the case at the moment. We are proud that we ended the attack on the Jewish consulate within 10 minutes. And that should demonstrate to any Jewish person entering Munich that our respects, and especially not to the assassinators of any person, especially the Jewish persons, is paid in the meaning of everyone is free to move in Munich. But in the second you do harm to any other person, especially a Jewish person, you can feel the consequence.
Yes, this is very important. I know that Israel has strong ties to Bavaria, to Munich, and economic ties as well. And as Israel is considered by a lot of people in the high-tech field a startup nation, and they've advanced in many ways, and Munich is also a great hub for the new technologies. You have a great car industry here and a great media industry. So where do you see, I know that Bavaria has a representation in Tel Aviv, which is also special. So in what way do you see we can strengthen the economic ties between Munich and Israel?
You already mentioned the most important part, that's Bavaria being represented with a permanent residence in Israel, in Tel Aviv. So if there's any questions regarding how do you settle down in Bavaria, in Munich, what things do you have to look at? Is there legal permits you need? And vice versa. These questions can not only be asked, but they are being answered. And that's a huge advantage to foster the business between our both countries. Munich is partner city to Beersheba, and that was closely looked after to decide which city we should partner with. Beersheba, a very young, emerging city, clearly focusing on tech industry, which Munich does too. Munich is considered, that's not what I'm saying, that's what others say, at least the newspapers do say that, is considered to be the #1 startup city in Europe. And we do clearly focus on the tech side. That means we have two countries, Israel and Germany, having young people wanting to do business, having great ideas, and making the opportunity to give people work by having an idea which must be financed, which must be tested in a certain environment. And the good thing is that Israel has other possibilities than if you would like to test it in Germany. That's one of the potential cooperation bases. The other cooperation basis is just exchanging young talents from the universities. Maybe one idea comes to the other. I think it's mainly about talking to each other. And the representation of Bavaria in Israel is key to enabling that conversation between professors, young people, young talents, young entrepreneurs, and of course the financing industry.
Yes, I remember now that at the DLD conference here in Munich, I think the co-chairman besides Hubert Burda was always Yossi Vardi, who was the father of the high-tech industry in Israel. So this, you see here, this really this partnership which exists between the city of Munich and Israel. And as a final question, I would like to ask you, what message would you like to share with the Jewish community in Munich, as well as with the wider Jewish community in the world through the Conference of European Rabbis? What message would you like to give them?
The message is, you're welcome in Munich, you can feel safe, you can feel at home. That's the message I would like to give, not only to the Jewish community in Munich, but to the Jewish community in the world. Come and have a look at Munich, it's worth trying.
Mr. Clemens Baumgärtner, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for welcoming us in Munich.
Thanks for the interview.